Thank you, PJ. It is time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gaard from KFAN. We've got Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune and Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com. We are presented, as always, by our great partners at Jack's Cafe. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, which I hope you are, please tell a friend that we're on YouTube. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't, and you can see it right there at the bottom, jackscafe.com. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com. We got a lot to get to today. It's going to be one of those no BS shows. We're not going to catch up with each other. We're not going to see how the cats are doing for Burnsy. We're not going to see how Chip's family all over the country in New York are doing. We don't care about any of that. We're here to talk about football right now. Maybe at the end we'll get some nonsense in. But the Gophers somehow, boys, beat Purdue on Saturday night, homecoming, Huntington Bank Stadium. There's so much we want to get to about this game. It was ugly. It was choppy. And thankfully, I said this after the Vikings beat the Bears to open the season. I don't know if there's three teams that the Vikings would have beaten in the NFL that week and that night. But lucky for them, they were playing the Bears. I kind of felt the same way about the Gophers because Purdue put that one on a nice holiday Jack's Cafe platter in the fourth quarter and said, look, I know you guys haven't played that well. I know your offense has sputtered. I know your defense has been getting gashed, and we've been running the ball at you at will again for like the third straight year. But we'd really like you to have this. Do you accept our gift? And the Gophers, to their credit, Burnsy, did finally, in the fourth quarter, accept the gift, the homecoming gift from Purdue.
That was the strangest game I think I've seen at Huntington Bank Stadium where Minnesota wins. And the post-game win expectancies for all your whatever advanced that analytics sites that you want to use, I think Minnesota was somewhere between 25 and 30%. I believe it. But they finally seized the moment in the fourth quarter, and that was even with the gifts from Purdue, with extending two different plays on the drive with face mask penalties on Drake Lindsay. You get a takeaway. You get some huge tackles in space. You were just what I came to the conclusion of, and Chip knows this. I came up to Chip after that game and I went, what do you even write? I don't even know what to write. Like, you won, and that's great. And that's the most important part. We don't judge PJ Fleck by anything other than wins and losses at the end of the day. But the thing I came to the conclusion of was you were the more disciplined team, where Purdue was self-imploding with penalties. They had 9 of them, including 3 huge ones in the fourth quarter. They were dropping passes. They were stepping out of bounds and coming back in. They were putting the ball in harm's way. You were the more disciplined team. And the takeaways that I have been praying to the Gopher football overlords for came in bunches. And you win the take-give by the amount that you did, Chip, you're going to come away with the football game.
Well, Gargi, to your question, they would probably beat Wisconsin playing that poorly, but that's about it.
Yeah.
They played terrible. I'm sorry. That was a bad game. And Purdue is horrible. Like the things that they did, there's like 15 things they had to do to lose that game, and they checked every box to do it. That is not a template to be in a good team. And PJ said they have a really good team. My Burnsy came up to me. He's like, what are you going to write? Said, I'm going to write that this season's halfway over, and I have no idea what to make of this team, the Gophers. Like, I don't know what they do well. I think the quarterback's good.
Yep.
I don't know what they do well at this point. I really don't. Give them credit. You never apologize for winning. It's hard to win in college football. As I wrote, James Franklin would have loved an ugly win Saturday, but they have a lot to figure out because I just don't know what they do well right now.
I don't think Purdue's terrible. I don't think
I do.
I think they're incredibly undisciplined. I think they just shot themselves in the foot all the time.
Okay, when you drop a million passes, when you have undisciplined penalties, when you do the things, I don't think they're a good team. But it's sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
I mean, the thing that you wrote though is very true. Of what do we make of this team halfway through the season? I even asked the head coach yesterday, what have you learned about your team, and what do you still have yet to learn? Because I feel like there's a lot we still don't know. Yet there's just a lot that we do. And I think offensively, and I know the head coach and I certainly see this differently. If I learned anything yesterday at Monday, he doesn't believe the offensive line personnel is an issue. And I feel like I'm watching college football and he's watching European soccer. We're both watching the same game of football, technically. But I don't know how you can go and watch this offensive line have missed assignment after missed assignment with the same 5 guys up front and look me dead in the eye and say, I think it's either Greg Harbaugh's scheme or Brian Callahan's coaching that is more of an issue. Now, he loves to talk about coaching versus personnel versus scheme. And I'm here to tell you there's issues with all three. I just put the most golf balls in the bucket of I want to just see them change guys up front. And we saw them flip the tackles again, but the tackles aren't the problem. It's the interior of the offensive line. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, boys.
No,
just doesn't believe it.
I agree because I just didn't see anywhere for Darius Taylor to run. When you run for 30 yards against Purdue and there was nowhere to go, I'm sorry, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I just think it's putting way too much pressure on Drake to carry everything. And he's good. I mean, I think he got a little bit I don't know if rattled is the right word, but the pressure
from the opening
the pressure, sped up. That's the right word. The pressure got his accuracy off. I mean, he missed throws that we've seen him make. And I think the pressure he felt early on, he was rushing things. His accuracy just went, left him a little bit. But I think he's good, but it's putting way too much pressure on him. And I just didn't see a lot for Darius Taylor or whoever was running the ball to go there. There's nothing there. They're not creating holes. They're not moving guys. I just feel like so many of these runs he's getting hit at the line or behind the line, and you're asking him to break tackles. And yeah, that's part of the job, but I don't know if it's the personnel, if they got the guys in the wrong spot, if it's scheme or what, but it's not the Minnesota offensive line that we're accustomed to.
Well, here's what I would ask, Burnsy.
Yep.
What do you expect PJ to just bury the guys like you want him to and go, yeah, you're right, these guys suck, but it's who we have? Like, he's going to talk his way around all of it, I would think, and say, we got to find better ways to do it, whether it's switching guys. It also, I think, tells you about what he thinks about the people behind the starters, right? Because I'm sure he sees what we all see, but he's not going to go out there and say, kind of like Luke Fickles did and said, yeah, we're so far away right now. We're so far away. We're like a different planet from where we need to be. I just don't think he's going to say that. I just don't think it's very realistic. I at least appreciate that they're not trying to run very much, right? I mean, Darius Taylor had 1 carry in the third quarter. It was the first play of the third. And let me see.
The second time we've seen him do that too, right? I mean, where they just completely abandoned the run. He finished with 12 carries. Yeah.
He gained 3 yards. It was the second play of the third. That was an explosive for Saturday night. It's a 3-yard run. He gained 3 yards, and then they threw like 30 straight passes, and I didn't count it up, but I just remember it. But you're right. That's the biggest issue is because Darius is so good and so dynamic. He doesn't really need all that much. And they're finding, the screen pass in the first half was the one explosive play that actually got them going. That was a nicely timed call to get something going offensively, but they got to find a way to just do something different and figure out some way to get just 3 yards a carry. They're not even at 3 yards a carry for the season, right?
Yeah.
Because Drake is that good, I think, that you can rely on him a lot. But even if you gave him a little bit of help, because they're doing play action passes in the second half. It's like, who's buying that?
Yeah.
No one's biting on that. It's great, but we're not. So anyway.
Well, that's what.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but that's what I thought Harbaugh did a nice job on the one where they got going. It's like he had to slow that rush down somehow. So they did the screen to Darius, and I think they came back with another screen and then the tunnel screen for the.
Tried plenty of screens.
It's like they got to slow this rush down because they can't hold up against it. So it's not just the run, running the ball and creating holes. It's like they were all over the Drake there, and I felt like he was just ready to bail out every time because he knew it was coming. So, yeah, I don't know what the answer is, Burns. You're more the football personnel guy than I am in terms of scheme what they're doing, but it's not good enough right now, I don't think, because okay, we can say they get overwhelmed by Ohio State. Okay, we get it.
Mm-hmm. Purdue and Ohio State.
You should not get overwhelmed by Purdue. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just you're going to face better defenses than this, and they've got to figure this out.
So that's where Darius Taylor rushed for 32 yards on Saturday. PFF had him with 38 yards after contact. What does that tell you, Mr. Minnetonka and Woodbury math? I know the royal blue is thick over there,
Yeah.
just like it is for my Tartan education. But that tells me he earned everything. Plus, he had to get hit behind the line even more to get everything he earned. He's not missing. I don't think that Darius Taylor was the Darius Taylor of old, where I think there was a little rust coming off the long layoff, and I think he can be better. But if I'm Harbaugh this week against Nebraska, I'm throwing the entire kitchen sink plus about 4 spatulas to say, all right, if you think we're easy to defend up front, and we can talk about the short yardage things, but there's only so many ways to get 2 yards besides just lining it up and go mano-a-mano. And we didn't even talk about Drake Lindsey's little hesitation, pump fake. And I say this as someone who's 6'4", 240 pounds. I haven't won many foot races in my life. And my man won the foot race to the corner to extend a huge part of the drive. And I know that's a moment he won't soon forget. I just think they need to help Drake, and it's not just the running game. I asked Fleck about it yesterday too. Your pass catchers, we got it against Ohio State. You just got blanketed by those guys. Purdue is blanketing you all night in man coverage to the point where you were 1 for 13 in contested catch situations. Tells me 2 things. You struggle in 50-50 balls that they're almost 10-90, and you're also not getting separation against Purdue Boilermaker defensive backs who had been hemorrhaging explosive plays.
Yeah, the separation was the big thing. I just didn't see a lot of guys running open. I felt like they had guys all over them. And I know the sideline, they were growing increasingly adamant about the PIs. And there was 2 obvious ones I felt like they missed early, right? The first
At
2
least.
that PJ.
Yeah.
I mean,
I haven't seen PJ that exuberant.
the first 2, I mean, they
they build on
obvious.
each other. They build on each other. When you don't get the obvious ones, then you think you're getting screwed on every play.
On the 50, the ones that
and
can
like
go either way.
the Malachi Coleman one, I can't because
it's like a horse collar.
It's just and literally he's the only guy they're really running out there.
Yeah.
So I'm always, I'm standing right next to the bench at that point. And so a lot of times I can hear them because they all know what the play is. They all know what they're looking for. And I can hear them say, like, got him, like, here it is.
Yeah.
And then he gets dragged in the wide open field and there's no call. You're just like, what are we doing? So you're right. So, but let's even say Burnsy, because let's say there were 4 pass interference calls that they didn't call. That's still 5 of 13. I can do that Minnetonka math. Like that's still probably not as good as you need to be.
Right.
So that's that's definitely a problem too.
It is. So it can't just be the Drake show. And that's what they need to figure out as an offense is Drake has been much better than advertised. If I were to have told you both before the season, we're halfway through his first 6 career starts and he's completing 60% of his passes with a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, we'd all be saying, boy, they must be doing pretty well as an offense. It's the Drake Lindsey and then what? Because Darius has been hurt. The receivers have been an absolute roller coaster. So has the offensive line. And now you get a ranked Nebraska team coming to town. So,
if you ask me to rank who's been their best player this year, offense or defense, to me, it's Drake, and it's not even close.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's been awesome.
It's just he's been their best player. I mean, he just has. And so, I mean, when you're having that many contested catches, you're not going to throw for a high percentage. I mean, your receivers have to get open, more open. I mean, you're asking a lot to put the, contested catch just got to be a perfect accuracy, probably. I mean, you got to give him a little opportunity to complete some of those passes too. So, that was such a weird game, and you give them credit. They made the plays when they needed to. You got the help, obviously. The first face mask penalty was atrocious. I mean, he's going to get sacked by 2 guys, and then the third guy grabs. It's just that was absurd. And it's 3rd and 11.
Yep,
that's my favorite play from the night because it was a 3-man rush, and I took a screenshot of when Drake is getting his face mask yanked off. Marcellus Marshall and Ashton Beers are blocking each other while Drake's getting his face mask yanked off. It's
who won the rep, Burnsy? Who won it? Which one of them had the other one?
Yeah. Again, undisciplined team for Purdue. Minnesota was more disciplined, and then defensively too. 156 yards and only 20 points is quite an accomplishment if you're Danny Collins for this one.
Well, I tweeted this out. Purdue came in 111th nationally in rushing at 115 yards per game. They had 178 at halftime, and 40 by the backup quarterback right up the gut on a keeper. And I didn't check PFF to see how many missed tackles they had, but it felt like a lot again.
They had 13, so they've got 58 in their last 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and it's Anthony Smith has a sack opportunity in the hole, and he doesn't make it, and Brown gets out for a first down. Coy missed one, and he had the run at the he came on the blitz and a free run on the blitz, and he stumbles. It wasn't a missed tackle, but it was it could have been a sack. It's just we talked about last week. I don't know how you clean it up because you're not going to practice tackling in practice, but it's way too. They're giving up so much extra yardage on plays, and you're not going to make every tackle. No team's going to. I mean, I know they did the first game, but you're going to have missed tackles. But 13, 15, that's just think about how many extra yards they're giving up and extra drives, and whether those lead to points by just not being fundamental, tacklers.
Guys are in the spots to make plays, and they just refuse to make them at times. Where Ryan Brown, the Purdue quarterback, dropped back to pass, I think 46 times.
Yep.
And he was not sacked one time. They had him surrounded multiple times. And you think about the touchdown he had, 3rd and 12. They collapsed the pocket on him. Nobody gets a hand on him, wins a foot race to the pylon. The Gopher defense can make plays, but then they also can get bullied in the trenches. And that's the worrisome part to me, is you give up 256 rushing yards to Purdue. I know Devin Mockabee turns into Mike Allstott reincarnated against the Gophers, and I'm glad to never see 45 play the Gophers again because he only just gashes them. But that was one of the other takeaways I had was, they couldn't run the ball, but they also couldn't stop the run against Purdue. Like Purdue could do whatever they wanted in that game. So I think that's when I look to the back half of the season, that's almost the biggest thing I want to see is if Minnesota is going to find a way to go get 7 wins still and beat their Vegas over-under win total for the season, it starts up front. This is Big Ten football the rest of the way. You already got your little taste of it. Well, guess what? You get a lot more coming up. And if you're not physical up front against Nebraska and Iowa and Michigan State before the bye here, it's going to be some tough sledding.
What do you guys think they're best at? To my original,
just letting Drake carry him, just letting Drake drop back and throw. And even the 4th down, the final drive. Obviously, they get the pass interferences, but he converts the 4th and 2 just by making a play,
making a play by himself,
And then probably 2 of his better throws were on the other 2 third downs, right? The one to Jalen Smith and the one to Javon Tracy. That
was the one third. That was a contested catch, right, Jalen, or was that?
That was their only contested catch.
Yeah.
That was the one. A huge spot
because Tracy was open. That however he got open, that was good over the middle, right? That one was on 3rd and 10, and it's a 16-yard pass. It gets him down to the 8, and that's in a have-to-have-it drive, right? You don't. That's why they went for it on 4th down. Like they obviously got the penalties to keep it going, but when they had a couple other third downs in that situation, and Lindsey was good in those moments. Like he obviously likes those moments. He obviously doesn't shy away from it. I loved his reactions after he picked up the 4th down, after they got the touchdowns. Like that's who they are right now. Really, it's how far can Drake get them? Can the defense hang in enough? Can the defense hang in enough and get turnovers when they need it, or force missed field goals when they need it, or just live to see another day because coaches refuse to do what got them down there, and they're perfectly happy letting a backup quarterback throw a 35-yard moonshot on 2nd and long to keep the clock running, which is I'm still baffled. We should spend a few minutes on that, but basically it's hang around, make enough plays. Like we saw that in Rutgers too, right? They're getting carved up. Then they finally they tweak some things. They get some pressure. They get some turnovers, and they go. But right now, I mean, it's Drake Lindsey. It's the quarterback. That's what they're good at. That's
exactly my take.
What do you think of this? Like I don't know if they have a lot of good players, like studs, but like their studs are like saving them, right? Like Kerry Brown saves them, Coy Parrish saves them. You go back, Drake obviously saves them. Like those guys have, because that's what you need, right? I mean, you need guys at some point to just go make something happen, and they've done that. So they're not consistent, but they've been covered up by a couple of really good players doing things, which counts, but it's hard to count on that every time.
Yeah, and PG, I think, alluded to that. I was reading the quotes. I was upstairs writing, but from this post-game press conference, what was he saying? You live in a comic book world, and you keep waiting for Superman and Spider-Man and these superheroes to come save the day, and that's really kind of what's happening. It's like, don't play well, play inconsistent, and then Drake gets on fire, or Coy has a pick six. You're right. It's that's not the formula you want. I mean, it's great that your best players step up when you absolutely need to play, but man, that's you just want more consistency. I mean, you just want things to be crisper and cleaner, and so I agree with you, Gaard. I mean, to me, if you ask me what they do well right now, I think it's the quarterback can throw the ball.
And they've got good players on defense. Anthony Smith, Kerry Brown, Coy. I think Maverick Baranowski and the linebackers have been largely good. But that's the thing defensively, is you have some good players on all three levels, but I don't know what you do well as a defense. Now, they benefited from those takeaways. I mean, the Coy Parrish one, he's just sitting there waiting for this RPO, and we have been standing at the pulpit banging it, saying, catch the ones they throw to you.
Yeah.
Coy Parrish finally caught the one they throw to him, and it changed the entire game. Or Kerry Brown on the John Nestor one. If that ball is not tipped by Devin Williams, Kerry Brown runs into the end zone in about 1.2 seconds for another pick six. It's just counting on the Gopher defense to get 3-4 takeaways every week. When we talked about coming into that game, they had 2 in their last 7. It's a very tough place to live. And so, Chip, we're trying to be a solutions-driven podcast, even with Darcy's negativity.
My negativity.
Your negativity.
I feel like I have to pick you guys up today.
They won the game.
4-2, baby.
Yes. They won the game. They won a Big Ten game by 7 points. I just don't know what you take from that game and say, this is what we can project forward to the back half of the schedule, even the short week here against Nebraska is. Well, I'll say the low-hanging fruit so you guys don't have to. If they play like that against Nebraska, they're not going to win. Obviously, that is the easiest statement that a media jackal has ever told you. I just reserve the right to know Minnesota plays Nebraska incredibly well for whatever reason. And I asked Fleck about it yesterday. He's 6-1, and he's 5-0 in his last 5, and that's 3 straight one-possession wins. So, yes, they cannot play that poorly again if they want to win another football game in the Big Ten, but they also reserve the right to now in a short week and Nebraska comes up to also improve.
I will say my quick reaction to why do they play well against Nebraska, and just as I sit here and think about it, I think they've dominated the trenches a lot when they've played Nebraska. Like, they've been really good up front, and they've just kind of been the better team there. Yeah, I mean, that's why it was a tricky game to write, because we see college football's crazy. Teams lose, they play bad. Nobody plays, or, very few teams can play at their A level all the time. It happens. I just don't, the Gophers have been so inconsistent in showing the flashes of being good. I mean, when, we saw it, I think, some against Rutgers, but also defensively they had issues. They didn't against Cal, didn't against Ohio State. They didn't play particularly, we didn't see their A game, or what is their A game?
Right. We haven't seen it.
That's what I guess I'm trying to A game look like, because I don't know that we've seen this team really click and be consistent for long stretches. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, like, how good this team is, and how do they build on, or how do they get better at the areas that they're deficient in right now. And tackling, I still think they can be, that's something I think you can clean up, right? Because I don't know that it's necessarily a talent thing. They're just not finishing. The offensive line, I just wonder how are they going to get to that next gear and be a dominant physical group like we've seen them against Nebraska in those years where they really, I thought they won the trenches. How are they going to get to that spot?
So you mentioned inconsistencies, and I think it's even a good reminder for someone like myself when I hear Chip say that is think about the amount of players they lost last year. We talk about lamenting the receiver core. Well, Daniel Jackson and Elijah Spencer ain't here, and there's a bunch of new guys trying to figure it out.
They were in the alumni line on Saturday night.
They lost 4 starters on their offensive line. They've trotted out 3 different offensive line combinations in the last 3 weeks. They're trying to figure it out. Lost Ja Joyner, Danny Strigow in the defensive end spots outside of Anthony Smith. Ain't been too good. They're trying to figure it out.
Lost Cody too, right? Lindenberg.
Yep. Cody Lindenberg, Justin Wally, Ethan Robinson.
Yeah, they lost a lot.
The thing I've taken away from this season too is last year's team underachieved significantly. If these 2 teams both end the year 7-5 in the regular season, this team would overachieve, and last year's team underachieved, certainly to me. Now, that doesn't really mean anything, and you don't get any awards, or I don't go get a participation trophy for that. But for the next few games, especially starting on Friday night, they have to start to find more solutions to the things that ail them. You could get the excuse of we're playing new guys in the first half of the season. Well, all those guys got like 200 snaps underneath them. So now it's time to see if they can make the jump to becoming consistent on each one of these units that have been struggling.
Burns, is there anything schematically they can do differently to get the running game going?
If I'm Greg Harbaugh on Saturday, I'm throwing 2 back looks. We've seen tosses. I'm throwing everything out there to say, maybe we are easy to defend, and I don't disagree, but there's only so many ways in short yardage to get 2 yards besides just lining it up and running it into mass. So if I'm looking at Nebraska's defense specifically, and I'm not going to pretend to get all Daniel House on the bit, they got 2 really good defensive ends. I'm not trying to let them wreck the game, and Nebraska's allowed some rushing yards against them here in Big Ten play. But if I'm Harbaugh, I'm trying everything I possibly can to try and give Nebraska a different look. I know what the interior of the offensive line struggles to execute. Let's find out if they are a little bit better at something else, like some more outside zone, some toss sweeps, some 2-back looks, I expect to see some different wrinkles on Saturday or Friday night, I should say.
Can we spend 90 seconds on the Purdue side of this?
Yes.
I'd be so mad.
I was mad for them on Friday night or on Saturday night.
Were you screaming into your mic on the sideline?
I was a little bit, and I told Burnsy this, and we talked about it on Gopher Football Sunday. I said it on the radio after they missed the field goal. After, I'll just read you the play-by-play from the third quarter. The end of the third quarter, the drive starts at their own 31, Purdue. Short pass, Maccabee 8-yard run, Maccabee 3-yard run, Singleton 3-yard run. Then the last play of the third, Singleton rushes left for 18 yards to the Minnesota 32. So they've got it to start the fourth quarter. 1st and 10 from the Gophers 32. They are up 20-13, right? Singleton, 2-yard rush. Singleton, pass incomplete to Tuggle. That's the deep shot to the left side.
Yeah.
And then they let their regular quarterback throw. That's a novel concept. Incomplete. So that took about 42 seconds. They missed the 47-yard field goal. And then the next drive, the Gophers score. And at that point, I basically said to our engineer, I said, throw it down to me, please. Can we throw it down to me? I'm just like, guys, the Gophers have to win this game. We have to be blunt. They have to win this game with what Purdue is doing here. That just bothered me so much how they handled it. First of all, the earlier play, the 4th and 2, where they kick a field goal, 4th and goal from the 2 to go back up 7.
That's it.
You're winless. You're lifeless. You've got all the momentum. You've got Devin Maccabee, who, if he just breathes, has garnered 2 yards a carry, right? And if you don't get it, I didn't have a lot of faith that the Gophers were about to line it up and go 99 yards for a touchdown, right?
No.
I cannot believe for how aggressive, you want to talk about no identity, for how weirdly aggressive they were in the fourth quarter, how ridiculously conservative. Like if I'm the Gophers, I was breathing a sigh of relief when they didn't go for it, right?
Yeah.
On 4th and 2. So I was already annoyed by that. And then the way they handled the fourth quarter, I said, guys, if the Gophers don't win this game, this should haunt them forever, because Purdue is asking them to just take a homecoming victory. To their credit, they did. They found a way and they got it done, and their playmakers made plays, and Drake was good on that drive. But I was so I'm still bothered by how they handled that.
Guardsy, I must have said 50 times during that game, how are they losing to this team? They dropped so many wide open passes, like would just drop them in. And I know Dean Hart, who covers them, I guess it's become a season long theme, because they dropped.
Yeah, they had like passes. 13 going into the game, right? Burns?
Yeah,
13 or 14 drops.
In what planet in modern football do you kick a field goal from the 2-yard line?
When you're the road team,
like this,
just trying to find a win and playing great. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you what do you have to lose? I mean, you're kicking a field goal from the 2. Yeah, they did some of the most baffling things, and then on top of the face mask penalties, and just it was. If I was a fan of them, I would be like, "What is this coaching staff doing?" Like it's and the players, just the drops. I don't know. It was maddening. And I don't have a rooting interest in anything, but it's maddening to watch a team make those kind of mistakes and those kind of decisions where you're just like, are you trying to give the game away? Or are you trying to win here? What are you doing?
They got what they deserved. They got what they deserved. They let the Gophers find their footing. It took a long time, but they got what, after putting themselves in a great position. And obviously good for them. They were ready to go. They were ready to play. Like, they had a good plan. Maccabee obviously was good. Like, all that's true. But man, I would have been sick. I would have been sick if I was those guys.
Guardsy, what did I text you at about 1:45 in the morning?
I can't remember. I was probably a little sleepy.
So I hit him with, Chip, we're talking about how they just abandoned the run in these key spots when you're gashing them all night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it reminded me of the USC game last year.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you go and look, and Purdue's offensive coordinator for the last 3 seasons before this one was the offensive coordinator for the Southern California Trojans. And so while Lincoln Riley may call the plays out there, certainly Josh Henson learned that, we're running the football really well in Huntington Bank Stadium. Let's go away from that and find a way to lose a football game. It's just baffling. Absolutely baffling.
Yeah. By the way, you know why USC's winning right now? They're running the football.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like they're running it down people's throats. Anyway, I was, because I was saying to some people after the game, the one thing that you'll never say about PJ is he just didn't run enough clock. He just didn't know the situation, right? Like, can you imagine PJ doing that? Like, up 7 into the fourth quarter, you just went right down the field to start the fourth.
Yeah.
He just did the sprint down to the other side. He probably did a sideline interview. Can you imagine him going, "Hey, let's get Max Shikanjansky in there and let's throw one deep"? Like, it's just, but he always says more games are. To me, I thought that was a perfect example of what he always says. More games are lost than won.
100%.
Where
100%.
It's okay, and you take it when you come. And I think the Viking, like, I say that about Kevin O'Connell too. Like, say what you want about the fact that he throws the ball too much, or there's things you don't like about what KOC does. Like, the reason why KOC is so good in close games is he doesn't blow things like that. Yeah. Like, he finds, like, he doesn't screw up like the Bears did before the 2-minute timeout, right? Like, he doesn't make the clerical errors. And PJ's like that, and people might not like it how he runs clock sometimes. We've certainly, but they score going into the half, right? This time, which they needed. Like, I think he's pretty good at all of that stuff, and he does have at least a handle and some thought on it. But what Purdue did on Saturday, I bet billions of dollars that PJ Fleck would never do in a million years. Like, give them the opportunity to come back in a game that they have no business of winning. I just don't. So I think that needs to be brought up from time to time when you see, because everybody kind of gets microed in on their own coach and the flaws and things they don't like. It's like, I mean, these guys are like, I just can't believe you spend 80 hours a week and get paid millions of dollars. And then at the moment of truth, it's like, you know what we should do? Have we thought about this? Devin Mockabee does look like Mike Allstott, to your point, Burnsy. He's having another great game. They can't stop us. He gets 7 yards of carry doing nothing, but they'll never see this coming. They'll never see a 30-yard bomb on 2nd and 8. So it's like the football gods said, no, we're not going to let you make this field goal. Sorry. I know you haven't made one all year, but it was just insane behavior and just drives me crazy. It's like, it's just, the game is right there for you. Because you know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for the Purdue players, because I never like teams that never win. Right? Because you guys all know how much time these dudes put into it, right? And I know now they're all getting paid and blah, 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 but it's like they give up a lot to do this, and they work really hard to do this, and a lot of it probably sucks, like the 6 a.m. workouts that we never see. And you get 12 Saturdays, and you're playing well enough to give yourself an opportunity, and then your coach goes, 2nd and 8, let's take a shot. We're up 7. Like, backup quarterback. Oh, it's just and that's why I was so frustrated on the broadcast. I had to say, guys, the Gophers have to win this game. This is ridiculous what Purdue's doing right now. They have to win this. 4th and 2. Bring on the kicker.
Let's kick it.
Let's get the 3, guys. Let's get the 3. Like, oh, it's so frustrating. So
if Fleck was running the ball for 6-7 yards of carry,
oh my God,
he would have run it 35 straight times in the second half.
Exactly, as he should have. Yeah, because it's working. Like,
this whole podcast would have been Darius Taylor, 59 carries for 300 yards. How can he manage to come back against Nebraska?
Yeah, exactly. Nice to see Femi Ejeboy with a couple explosives, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're 100% right, Burnsy. It's like, man, I just don't know. It's baffling. It's just baffling to me. But you take it.
Yep.
Games are lost, not won.
You're 2-1 in the Big Ten when I know a handful of different teams that would kill to be 2-1 in the Big Ten.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Friday night's game with Nebraska, and then we've got a bunch to get to in the Big Ten, including the James Franklin firing, Indiana, a legit national title contender, Iowa, Wisconsin, completely one-sided. Burnsy wants to get his push-ups cheap shot in. We'll definitely do that. And in a shocking development, Greg Schiano thinks that their defensive issues might be coming down to coaching. Who would have ever seen that coming? But first, let's pause and talk about our great friends at Jack's Cafe, jaxcafe.com. And we mentioned on social media and a few weeks ago that they were part of the Restaurant Legends Bracket Challenge at Minnesota Monthly Magazine, minnesotamonthly.com. Let me give you some of the high earners or the high achievers, the places. Casetta, 3rd place, great spot. Murray's Restaurant, 2nd place in the Restaurant Legends Bracket Challenge. Murray's, I went to Murray's for the first time like 2 months ago. I'd never been there before. I know. I'm barely a Minnesotan.
People, really?
I know. It's a good spot. They got 2nd because the juggernaut known as Jack's Cafe wins the Minnesota Monthly Restaurant Legends Bracket. Jack's Cafe, hanging a banner. Put the banner by the brook. Put the banner by the fireplace. Put the banner by the piano. Put it by the lobsters. Put it by the original menus. Put it by the bar where Cal Stahl brought the jug in 1977. Well earned, not surprising, and hopefully Parent of Spare listeners helped get him across the finish line, Chip. A nice honor. Yet another honor for Jack's Cafe. All
we do is win championships and hang banners, right? I'm happy for Bill. That's right. I'm happy for Bill. I'm not surprised. I mean, if you've been there, this is not a surprise, right? When you're great and you're a legend, this is what happens, right? So, and I am happy for my friend Tim Murray. He's a buddy of mine, and I'm glad they got that far too. But Jack's Cafe, congrats, Bill. Thank you to our listeners who I think probably voted in that and deserve some praise for showing their support for Bill and Jack's. And they need a banner. I hope Bill, if you're listening, get a banner, hang it up somewhere because you absolutely earned it and you deserve it.
Just made a reservation at Jack's Cafe last night, so I'm excited to head back over there and celebrate my buddy's birthday. And what do you think, Chip? Should I get the steak or the pan-crusted walleye?
Why do you have to choose? I'd get both. Just see what you're in the mood for, and then bring the rest home.
I've had both. They're both terrific. I think I go the walleye. That
Oh.
walleye is outstanding.
Don't tempt me with a good time, Chipper.
So if you want to be like Burnsy, make your reservation at jaxcafe.com, jaxcafe.com. Don't
And-
forget about the Hunter's Dinner. Go ahead.
And tickets.
Yeah, so that's confirmed.
Yeah, he confirmed.
The Friday
it.
night tickets. Bill's giving
He
us the
texted
tickets.
me as we're talking today, and I think I sent it to you. 2 tickets
Perfect.
to give away again this week.
All right, Burnsy, we'll have to come up with some idea to give those tickets away this week for the Nebraska game. Friday night in Erotic City. MEA weekend. We'll have to find out a way. But yeah, the Parent and Spare podcast, we have season tickets now. I don't even consider them Jack's Cafe's tickets anymore. I just consider them our tickets because Bill's so generous with them. And we've sent so many people to the games this season, which is always fun. They're great seats right in the end zone. Perfect seats to bring your kids to, which people have taken advantage of. Don't forget about the Hunter's Dinner. You can learn about that at the website as well, jaxcafe.com. You have to call about that. That's coming up in November. And support those that support us. And nobody has supported us more than Bill and the entire team at Jack's Cafe. Learn more at jaxcafe.com. All right, guys. So Nebraska's ranked. No surprise. I predicted that they would be ranked coming into Huntington Bank Stadium. They're 5-1, I believe, is their record. I thought they would be 5-1 or 6-0 given their schedule. And the Gophers are underdogs, I believe, as well by a couple of points.
So that's the most interesting part about this. It's not that they're underdogs. It's that the line opened at, I believe, 5.5. And last I saw here, it's up to Nebraska -9. And there's no Gopher injury news.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting.
I think people, because here's my thing. I'm fascinated to see how good Nebraska is in person because I'm looking at it, and their best win is Maryland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their best win is
Cincinnati
Maryland this last weekend, or Cincinnati in the opening game. I threw that one in there as well. But in their biggest high-profile game at home against Michigan, they lost. And I think I said this last week. I was not impressed with Michigan against Wisconsin. I watched most of that game while we were in Columbus, and I was not overwhelmed by what I saw from the Wolverines. And then they essentially got run out of the Coliseum this past weekend by USC. Who knows? Like, again, you can't do the transitive property of college football. I think we've all learned that. But just my eye test of Michigan, I'm like, man, I'm just not necessarily seeing it here against a Wisconsin team that just got run out of their own gym against Iowa. And their coach was basically in tears after the game. So I'm fascinated to see Nebraska because we all know about their quarterback. Everybody here knows how much I love Matt Rule. I think you guys are there too. Like year 3, he always does well. But all of this is surprising to me. The line is like that, and because I just don't know if I see it yet from Nebraska when their best win is Maryland, who's fine. They're good, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how good they are. And I don't know how good the Gophers are. So
there's that too.
I'm curious to see the quarterback and how the Gophers defend their pass defense. I mean, he threw 3 picks last
4
Saturday.
touchdowns and 3 picks is about the most Dylan Raiola line I've seen in a while.
Was it one was a pick 6. That was or was it? Did he throw a pick 6? I can't remember.
Pretty sure he did.
Yeah, but so he can throw one to you. Are the Gophers going to be able to generate some turnovers? Maybe this, what we saw Saturday carries over and they get a couple picks from it. But to me, that's what it comes down to. Can they get pressure on him to force him into some bad throws? Because if he gets comfortable, he can obviously put up some big numbers. So that to me is what this game is going to boil down to. Can they get enough pressure on him that he makes some mistakes for him?
Yeah, the stats are gaudy for Raiola. I think he's got 15 touchdowns. He's completing something crazy, like 70-something% of his passes. But then you look behind the curtain, everything is close to the line of scrimmage. I think he's got the second lowest ADOT of all Big Ten starting quarterbacks. So what does that mean? That means he's just throwing the ball quickly to his playmakers in space. And the playmakers in space give me a lot of pause because we've spent a lot of time talking about missed tackles from the Gopher defense. And I know that these Nebraska skill athletes of Neziah Hunter, Dane Key, and then we get to see Emmett Johnson, the Holy Angels kid, make his return. I think all 3 of us would agree the Gophers whiffed on that one because he would look pretty good in maroon and gold if they would have ended up deciding to offer him late like Nebraska did. But if they don't tackle well and you don't get pressure on Raiola, because Raiola really struggles when he gets pressure. But if he doesn't get pressure, he can just get the ball out in space to these guys, and they can go do it. Now, defensively, I don't know what to think of Nebraska defensively, to be quite honest, because the stats would tell you they're a good pass defense, but the two pass defense or the two quarterbacks with a pulse that they've played, and the Maryland kid last week and then the Cincinnati kid in the opener, they moved the ball pretty good. Like Bryce Underwood's going to be really good one day for Michigan, but I don't know that he is what Drake Lindsey is right now.
Right.
So there's going to be opportunities to move the ball if you're Minnesota at times. It's just the whole crux of this game, and I still can't believe that Nebraska, at about multiple places now, 72 hours out from this game, is almost a 10-point road favorite. That surprises me. Now, if you think Minnesota is going to play like they did last week, sure. Yeah, that line makes a whole lot of sense to all three of us. But I just continue to come down to Nebraska does not play Minnesota well. I saw the stat that was asked to Matt Rule today or yesterday. Nebraska has not won back-to-back road games in the Big Ten since, I believe, 2006.
Wow.
2006.
Like in conference play.
Yeah,
they weren't even in the Big Ten then.
Yeah. That's right.
Like that's
they
crazy.
weren't even in the Big Ten. Yeah.
Just they don't play well. It's a short week after going to Maryland, and Maryland finds another way to lose, and Nebraska's finding ways to win one-possession games, which is why Matt Rule is candidate number one for Penn State, among many other reasons, which we'll get into.
Yep.
But if Minnesota doesn't play well, they're going to get run out because Nebraska's skill position guys will make a miss, and then the Gopher offense will be down 14-0 again. We didn't really mention it, by the way. They have now come back from 2 double-digit point home deficits to win games.
Right. Right, which rarely happens, by the way.
Very rarely happens.
Yeah.
But
DJ was funny during the coach's show. I said, he said something like, we accelerated in the middle and we finished strong. And I'm like, you still do the start fast thing, right? He's like, start fast, accelerate in the middle, and finish strong is what he said. I go, you're still doing the start fast thing? He goes, yeah. He's like, we're not really getting it. I just wanted to make sure because, the accelerate in the middle has been pretty good. Finish strong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, solid. The whole starting fast thing, that one's not clicking, Coach. Like, I know. We're trying to do it. I was glad he could have a little fun with that.
When you have a quarterback that can throw the ball, you can make up some ground.
For sure.
Previously, they weren't built to do that. They would have to still try to run the ball.
You can score off turnovers. That
now
helps
you have
too.
Quarterbacks that can get you back into a game, right? So this feels like a high-scoring game again. It may be you have to get to 30.
Drake Lindsey needs help. If the Gopher defense tackles well, this thing will be fun. I'll say this. I looked into, because I was curious myself, what it looks like for these Big Ten teams who play post 6 p.m. kickoffs. And because it feels like the home team dominates in most of these aspects. So if a Big Ten team has played another Power 4 opponent this season in a post 6 p.m. kickoff, the home team heading into Friday night is 8-3. So it's a short week for Nebraska, just like Minnesota. They've got to travel again. I agree that Nebraska should be favored in this game. I think if we're just talking about Johnnies and Joes, Nebraska's got better Johnnies and Joes. But I've seen that not matter in this game. So I'm going to be very curious to see how Minnesota responds to the way that they played and how Nebraska responds to, we're ranked top 25. We have expectations. Can we win another one-possession game? Can we go win on the road in a place that has been a house of horrors for us? It's a big game for both teams. I'm excited to see the Raiola versus Lindsey matchup.
Well, just remember that this game, if you missed it a few years ago, is about culture versus skill. Just remember that.
I forgot about that.
I'll never forget
How many hoodies
that.
do you think will be on the sidelines on Friday?
A lot of hoodies. This game is culture versus skill. Just Google PJ Fleck press conference 2020.
That was an all-timer for me.
Yeah, that was great.
2021. Culture versus skill. And what preceded the culture versus skill rant in the press conference was an all-time post-game interview with PJ Fleck that when I write my book, I'll give you the backstory on all of that. But I can't tell you about that. When I have Chip
saving that one.
When I have Chip write my book in about 15 years, I will tell that story because it's maybe one of my favorites of all time that led to the culture versus skill how many times did he say culture? Like 72 in the post-game
it
press
was
conference.
unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
He got his point across. Let's put it that way.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So that coach is no longer there for Nebraska. I know he loves Matt Rule, so I'd be surprised if we had any of that. They went to a Kenny Chesney concert this summer. Great time, I guess, at the Sphere in Las Vegas. So, and they're like the same guy, Matt Rule and PJ Fleck. Like, I don't know how you can watch a Matt Rule thing. Like, if you just read the transcripts of how they talk, you wouldn't know who's who. And I love them both. No surprise. All right. The biggest news in college football is that 2.5 weeks ago, James Franklin was preparing for the epic whiteout game in a top 10 matchup against the Oregon Ducks. State College, Pennsylvania. College game day was there. I think Big Noon Kickoff was there too. Everybody was there. I don't know if they were. It doesn't matter. They should have been. That was like 17 days ago now at this point. Why is it relevant that he was undefeated and hosting a top 10 Oregon team and they lost in double overtime? James Franklin now basically is one of us. He could be a podcaster if he wants to. He's no longer a college football coach. He was let go on Sunday after Penn State lost their third game in a row, this time a home loss to Northwestern, who, by the way, has won 3 in a row. How'd that happen? We need to check in on that. But a $49 million buyout. There's some offset contract language we can talk about, but let's just talk surprise level first, guys. We know it wasn't going well for Penn State after they lost to Oregon. They lost to UCLA and then obviously Northwestern. But are we surprised, Chip, that they ended up pulling the trigger to the tune of nearly $50 million for a coach that was in the college football semifinals less than a year ago?
Yeah, I when you have back-to-back clunkers like that against teams that you can't lose to if you're Penn State, I'm not surprised, because when you're at a program like that and you lose your fan base, you're done. Like after that, you knew he was not going to be back next year. So if you're going to wait till the end of the year to get rid of him, might as well just do it now. The $49 million, yes, Penn State has more money than 99% of the schools in this country, or athletic departments, but $49 million is not, you're not just pulling that out of your wallet. That is a lot of money for a buyout. And for them to be willing to eat that money mid-season tells you the level of anger that the AD and the president was hearing from their top boosters to willing to do that, to get rid of them. So nobody's going to cry for James Franklin, because I would gladly take a $49 million buyout to go somewhere. But he just became increasingly felt like he was the excuse making for why they weren't taking that next step. It was either the runway or the runway wasn't long enough. We got to travel, or
or why are we all out in Las Vegas for Big Ten?
Or why are we going to? Yeah, it just felt like the complaining about, it's like, hey, man, you're at Penn State. Go somewhere that doesn't have resources and tell me how hard. I mean, I know he coached at Vanderbilt, so he has been at places that don't have the resources. But I guess I'm not surprised he's not going to be the coach. I'm surprised they did it mid-season, I guess. But when you have it just felt like when you walked off that field that day, it was over. And if you're going to, why put off a decision you're going to make? Just go ahead and make it.
I don't know that I've seen a college football team as talented as Penn State take a loss harder than what they did in the whiteout, where they get Oregon to overtime, double overtime, and lose. And then you lose to an 0-4 UCLA team. You become the first team to do that as a top 10 ranked team since 1985. And then you turn around and lose to a Northwestern team that is not good. I know Guardsy just said that they won 3 in a row. I mean, they beat UCLA when it was Deshaun Foster.
UCLA is the hottest team in ball.
Like, does Northwestern deserve credit for believing in themselves that they could go in there and do it? Absolutely.
They kind of hung with Oregon for a minute.
My mind also drifts back to 2016.
I knew you'd go here.
Where it felt like they were on the cusp back then. And then we got Jalen Waters fighting the Penn State kicker. And then we also had Kunle Ayende versus Saquon Barkley in space. I'm never going to feel bad for a man who's going to get paid $49 million to go away. It's the best job in arguably America, is to be a head football coach in the college scene. Now, the interesting part of his contract is they wrote into the language he has to seek work. Now, the question I have for you boys is, how spiteful would you want to be? Do you want to come be a podcaster and go make, I don't know, a couple $100 a month? Because within the language, Penn State has to seek work, but whatever he doesn't make up, because I think the buyout's paid through 2031.
It is $8 million a year.
So you're gonna go make $1,000. So they got to send you the check for 8.99 or whatever that would be math wise.
Yep.
It's very, very interesting, but it makes a lot of sense because this also just shows you, if you're a blue blood in college football and you have more money than you know what to do with, and you have the donors that Penn State has, no one is safe. You were just in these semifinals of the college football playoff last year, and you lost 3 games in a row, and now you're gone. And it is going to be fascinating to see, because this coaching, we saw on, I think, Sunday alone, 3 coaches, including James Franklin, were fired.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Oregon State, UAB, and Penn State. Plus, we're waiting on to see what Wisconsin does with Fickell. Belichick, they just had to release a statement from the AD and Belichick of one sentence, because that always goes well. That shows how well things are going. Like, this is setting up to be one of the craziest coaching carousels. And I'll say this, it's a really good year to have a good year if you're a college football coach somewhere.
Did you guys read the Yahoo columnist? I think it was Dan Wolken that did it, wrote it yesterday, about the buyouts, these massive buyouts that coaches and their agents have basically pushed ADs into a corner and forced them to give them. And like, why are they doing this? Like,
agree.
Why is this? When did this become a thing? And why are they continue to every year have these rollover clauses and these, so where you're paying Jimbo Fisher $75 million and James Franklin $50 million when it's probably, and he's right. And I've always thought this. I've said this, and Burns, you may disagree with me on this because you're in the recruiting world, but when coaches get that, we got to have the 5 years for recruiting. We got to have a recruit does not know or care how many years a coach has on his contract. I do not believe that. I don't believe that a second. But it's always been the excuse, right? Oh, recruiting purposes, we got to show the recruits the stability. We're going to be here. Maybe I'm wrong, but I bet if you asked 100 recruits, how many years does a coach have a contract on him? How many years does a coach have on his contract? How many really are going to know if the coach hasn't told them? Are they doing that level of investigation? I don't know. So, but I wonder. I don't know if this will cause a slowdown or people to reevaluate these massive buyouts that coaches are getting. I think ADs are always fear that someone is going to come and take their coach. If that's, as Dan said, as if that's the only coach in the world that can coach at your school and do a good job.
Especially these big blue bloods. Like, they're never going to have problems attracting a coach. So I don't understand how they get that done, how these buyouts get to be that level either, because a lot of people want to coach at Penn State. A lot of people want to coach at Texas A&M.
Yes.
And those are jobs that you have to really screw up for them to go very, very badly, right? And it didn't even go very, very badly with James Franklin. Like, honestly, I think it's ludicrous that they fired him. What's driving me crazy is now no coach can ever just like go through it. Like, I just think, especially now in 2025, we always talk about it's unrealistic now for people to think that, a 10-2 season should always be attainable at some of these places, right? Like, we've said 8-4 is the new 10-2 because no one really sucks besides, a couple teams in each conference.
Yeah.
Everybody's just kind of okay, right? And then there's some good teams. Then this is like,
you would have stayed with it and rolled it out, even though how bad it is.
I don't know if I would have eaten the 50 because, we're about to get this $2 billion infusion of cash for the Big Ten. Like, all these schools are crying poor and, now we got to pay the players and you guys don't, like, the money we're getting has already been spent. And like, I've always been like, I just think it's such a bad look and I know nothing's connected between school and academics, but I do think it's just a crap look when you do, like Penn State had to close a bunch of campuses, and I'm sure they've had to cut some stuff. And it's like, then you're like, oh, but by the way, our coach who was just in the semifinals a year ago, we don't like him anymore, so we're going to pay him $50 million to go. Like, and part of it too is he's been there a long time. He's been there 12 years too. So I understand that perspective. But the buyout thing, it's like, they do have to get a handle on this buyout stuff, because I think they are going to disillusion some people if they're asking for money for us to pay the players now. Right.
Yeah.
And like, hey, if we don't get support from our fans, we're just not going to keep up. Well, you just had 50 million apparently, and you just gave it to, like, that's where I think they are going to, I don't know. Maybe I'm reading it wrong.
No,
but
you're right. I mean, it's a perception game. It is. I mean, it's tuition's going up, whether you like it or not. Student fees are being hit with them.
Right.
And now we're going to pay a football coach who we don't like, probably, because he lost games and maybe his personality and or he's been here for a long time. We want to see who else can come in here. $50 million. That's hard. When you're constantly beating fans and donors over the head, we need more money. We're broke. We get this new world that we live in. We got to have your money. It's a perception problem. And I go back to what Trev Albert said. College sports have a spending problem. They don't have a revenue problem. They have a spending problem.
Right. Just think about how many coaches Nebraska is still paying basketball and football.
Yeah.
And like I say, like, especially now with the way that the Big Ten and SEC are separating, like, every coach wants to go there, right? Every coach that's good wants to be in the Big Ten or the SEC because of the resources, because of the funding, because of the TV deals, because they're basically going to run this thing in a couple of years, right? And they're going to have the most
salaries.
and the salaries, right? So I guess my point is, you shouldn't have to feel like you need to protect yourself to that extreme level if you're a Big Ten program. Because you're always like, even, people, and we're going to talk about Curt Cignetti, people are always like, well, he's going to go to a bigger program. I'm like, well, first of all, there aren't that many bigger ones than Indiana right now because of the Big Ten stuff. It's not like even 15 years ago when you had to go somewhere else because you didn't feel like you could win because you weren't invested financially. They're invested financially. Burnsy's favorite topic, assistant salary pool. His is right up there with Ohio State, right? Which is insanity. But he's being supported. Yeah. So there's not a lot of places that are better than Big Ten jobs where people are going to leave anymore. So I just don't think they should feel the need to protect themselves this way. So they don't, but I don't see it stopping though. I don't see the crazy buyout stopping, because you have one good year, you sign a huge contract extension with a crazy buyout, and here we are.
I would love to know, and you guys talk about how do these contracts get signed, and we're talking agents. I wonder how many of these coaches' agents are also the agents for the athletic directors, because some of these athletic directors also got the same agent. I'm just going to be the one to tell you right now. So I think the thing that I will be very curious to see going forward is the same thing you both talked about, is even when you look at this Penn State search specifically, is how much better of a job do we think Penn State is than Indiana or Nebraska at this stage? Because that is the Cignetti thing. Is, I don't want to take anything away from Cignetti. I think he has his team playing better than about anybody in the country. Yeah. Especially with the level of talent that they have. I think they embody the personality of that head coach, and I think they play incredibly well. But the thing I haven't been able to put together of why people think this is the way that it is, because I see the tweets and the emails and the smoke signals, is why do people think Indiana's poor? Like, why do people think that Minnesota and Indiana are in the same level of NIL? Because Guardsy and Chip, you know this better than I do. Indiana basketball is what in NIL? They're
probably
number
one or two.
Yeah. One or two.
They hired Mike freaking Woodson to coach their basketball team. Like, they had, so if they're always one or two and have been for the last couple of years in basketball NIL, and Guardsy notes that what they're paying their assistants, why are we assuming that they aren't, say, 7th or 8th in the Big Ten, at least in NIL for them? Like, they have money in Indiana, which is part of why I don't think Cignetti leaves if Penn State does come a knocking. But it's just, I don't know, guys. I think the days of $50 million buyouts are going to be soon behind us.
Yeah, I think with Indiana, it's just perception because they haven't been good. I mean, we went through last time we were there. What year was that?
2021.
2021 is after they lost that Iowa game, right? I mean, admittedly, I get there early, but we got there. I was like, we got the right stadium. Where's nobody was tailgating there. I mean, it was a cold, miserable day, but it's like, it's perception. Like they haven't been good. There wasn't a lot of fan interest there, and so you assume, well, they don't, they don't have any money. No, there's no success. Why would? That's not the case. I mean, we know Indiana basketball. I hope Cignetti stays there. Watching them against Oregon, they are damn good. I mean, the way that how physical they are, how fast they are, how mentally and emotionally tough they are. When they throw a pick six to tie the game, I'm thinking, okay, here it comes. Oregon's gonna, pour it on the crowds. They came right back and scored 10. They scored a touchdown drive right back. They kick it, they go up 10 after that with a field goal. They're tough. So I mean, think of what he's done. He took over a Indiana program that was nothing.
Right.
And I know he brought in a lot of transfers, but they go to the playoffs and they're, one of the 2 or 3 best teams this year. I mean, that guy can flat out coach. And if I'm Penn State, I'd try like hell to get him there. Now you say, is it Penn State a better job? When you see that wideout, man, 100,000, it's hard not to think that's a special place.
It's a special place for sure. I don't think he's going there. I think he might get Kirill Kaprizov money to stay in Bloomington now. Like he's got to love the fact that job is open, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Because even though he's 64 years old, I think he's got enough to get him to the grave. He can always set up the rest, right?
Yeah.
If I'm him, I'm not leaving. If I'm Matt Rule, I'm not leaving, even though it's his alma mater and he loves it. And he bugged me when he said my wife decides where we live. It's like, okay, well, that's the.
Not in denial yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. And of all the places, she said, let's go to Lincoln. All right. Now, I did commercials for Omaha. I love Omaha, so you might have me there. But
where haven't you done commercials for at this stage of your life?
There's a few spots. There's a few outposts. But that bugs me when he does Julie decides where we live. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so she decided Waco and Philadelphia and now Lincoln. Those were the 3 on her bucket list. And Carolina. Come on. Get serious. But I don't think either one of those guys goes there. But then I also wonder, guys, and you both know the coaching search world so much. Do you make this move right now if you don't have a great idea of who you can get or are going to get? Because
there might be that Penn State arrogance. We can get who we want.
That's true. That's true. But you pay $50 million in the middle of the season coming off a playoff. Like, you better have a pretty good plan, right? Because you don't want this thing to be going. I mean, you would assume people think this is going to be the first domino in a coaching search who gets that job, right? And then other things move on. Like, people are going to be after it, but you better make sure you've got the guy you want before you make this swing. I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, because Florida State, Wisconsin won't supersede Penn State, certainly in this instance. I think I'm more intrigued to see what Matt Rule does than you do, Guardsy. You mentioned it. He grew up there. He played there. He was with the athletic director at Penn State, at Temple. They know each other incredibly well. You look at the theory, and the theory really makes a lot of sense. If you want to go with your theory of you don't make this move unless you know what you're doing. Well, if you know what you're doing, it's going to be Matt Rule. Now, if it's not Matt Rule or Kirk Cignetti, then do they want to go back to the Vanderbilt pipeline? I don't know how that fan base would take that, even though I don't think that matters at all. And Clark Lea.
No. Like Jerry Kill going to State College.
Or does Matt Campbell finally do something? I don't know what they would do if it's not going to be Matt Rule here. Now, we still got 2 months to figure this out because they're not going to hire anybody until December. But the Matt Rule thing is going to be hanging over this Nebraska program for the rest of the season now unless Chip Sky, Trev Alberts can get an extension done here, which I'm sure we just spent the entire last 20 minutes talking about these buyouts and insanity. Well, guess what? In the world, leverage matters. And now both Kirk Cignetti and Matt Rule have all the leverage in the world to do whatever they want with buyouts if they want to stay. So let's see how these two guys leverage it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, as you said, Guardsy, it's Penn State. you're going to get a good coach. You should, right? You don't have to
Yep.
take flyers and we think this guy might, no, you should get a good coach. To me, there's 2 grand slams. If you said who you could get anyone, I'm taking Kurt Cignetti. I think he would be 1 for me. Matt Rule would be 2.
You know when the last time was a Big Ten coach left his Big Ten school for another Big Ten school for football, by the way?
Oh, let me think. Let's try to figure this out. Big Ten coach, Big Ten school for another Big Ten football program. Oh, we should know this.
Man.
We should know this. We should know this. What decade, Burnsy?
I wasn't even alive yet. It was in the 80s.
The 80s.
I don't know that. I believe it was Northwestern's coach left for Purdue or Purdue's coach left for Northwestern. But my point being,
yeah, I never.
It has been nearly 40 years.
Yeah.
Since this has happened, if it does happen. So it's truly unprecedented, but I also think it points to even within the Big Ten, things are tiered and becoming more and more tiered. So I will be very curious to see if it is Cignetti or Rule. I mean, that would be a streak that I wasn't even alive the last time this happened.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it was either one of them, quite frankly, quite honestly. But I've been surprised before. I've been surprised before. I was just
reading.
Have a plan.
Yeah, sorry, I was just reading my buddy Dennis Dodd, former CBS, longtime college football. He threw out on a tweet today. It's not that hard. Penn State's football's best candidate to replace James Franklin is rested, ready, and accomplished. Ladies and gentlemen, Pat Fitzgerald.
Oh, that's an interesting name because I bet he gets back in this year. Because his
lawsuit is done. Yeah.
His lawsuit's done. He's clearly got a lot of football left. That's an interesting one.
Well, does he take that one, or we should talk Wisconsin, or is this the last year of Ferentz? Because I think I think Fitzgerald's kid is a walk-on quarterback at Iowa.
He's a walk-on quarterback. Yeah. He is. Yep. Yes, the Fitzgerald. That is a great. I'd forgotten about that, and I'm embarrassed because I've thought about that the second that suit got signed. There are a lot of
where's he
jobs
going? Yeah,
really good fit for him.
I know.
A really
Pat
good
Fitzgerald
fit
at
for
Penn
him.
State makes a lot of sense.
Pat Fitzgerald at Wisconsin makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Pat Fitzgerald at Iowa would make a lot of sense. That is interesting because he was 35 when he got the job at Northwestern, so he's only mid-50s now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got some ball left, and I'm sure he wants to get back in it. That is an interesting one. I thought you were going to go with Urban Meyer. I thought
no. John Gruden.
That's the other one. I don't think they can go John Gruden.
No,
and nor should they. I don't think. I want John Gruden to stay with Barstool.
Yeah,
I need the unboxing videos to keep going.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you
guys mentioned Wisconsin. You think it's a done deal? He's done there.
So 37-0, and to Justin Gaard's, and you sent me this because this is how I saw it. The Hawkeye Twitter account is trolling Wisconsin by it's Bucky doing push-ups for each one of the 37 points that they scored in that 37-0 loss. That needed to be the game where Luke Fickell's team showed up because now they get Ohio State and Oregon.
Yep.
It just seems like the writing on the wall is there if you're there at this point for the Badger fans. I know I have thoughts, but are we just essentially waiting to see that McIntosh is going to let Luke Fickell eat it these next couple of weeks? Because like I said, they got to go play Ohio State. They got to go play Oregon. Oh, by the way, they get a 5-1 Washington team, Indiana, Illinois, and then the Gophers. Do you just let him eat it here the next couple of weeks and then pull the plug? Or what do you do with that $25 million buyout, Chip?
I kept thinking they need a win.
In the worst way.
Where it just says, okay, not only do you need it just to stop the losing streak to feel good about yourself, but just like, okay, we see signs of, or a competitive game where some games where they're not necessarily maybe not winning, but okay, they're getting better defensively, or this quarterback is doing something that shows, okay, this is trending towards something. How can you say right now it's trending towards anything?
Can't.
I don't. I mean, that's a big buyout. I mean, obviously, their financial situation is different than Penn State's.
It's not great. It's not as good as you think it should be. The Wisconsin
I mean, look at their stadium. I mean, it's not. They're not selling. I don't know. My gut says they're making coaching change after season. I don't know if they're going to do it mid-season, but my gut says they make a change after a season.
I know that they've had quarterback injury issues for the entire Luke Fickell era, and they're
They
starting
have.
a kid from Southern Illinois. But you don't have any identity anywhere. And you just lost 37-0 to Iowa, where the stat line from Mark Gronowski at the end of the day, where they scored 37 points as a team, was 107 passing yards and a pick. That's not a particularly – I don't think this is a world-beating Iowa team. Now, Iowa can certainly do what Iowa does to you, and we'll see them in a couple weeks. But I just think when you do pull the plug, I would look at guys like Jason Eck, who is worked his way up as a Wisconsin native, is doing some really good things in New Mexico. You look at potentially, does Lance Leipold want to get out of Kansas and come back where he is already a legend in the UW athletics system and has won a lot of games? But does either one of those hires inspire a lot more confidence than what Luke Fickell did? Because you're going to be paying him $20-something million to go away, and then you got to give whoever the next guy is more money. I don't know what you do if you're McIntosh, because you've also got Barry Alvarez talking about how spoiled rotten this fan base is. And I always will say, anger is not what you should be worried about if you're an athletic department. The only thing worse than that is apathy. And to see the amount of open seats at Camp Randall for an Iowa-Wisconsin game was, I think that was the biggest sign to me that they're just not going to have a choice at this point.
I think that's it. There comes a point where it's more expensive to bring him back than it would be to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
And even though you have to pay him that much. Now, with Christ, if you remember, they negotiated a lower buyout. They basically had a meeting, McIntosh and Christ, and basically worked together to say this isn't going to work. Like his buyout, I think, was almost cut in half or maybe like by a third. I don't know if Luke Fickell is going to be that accommodating. I don't know why I would be.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I just can't. It's amazing to me. I would love, I've always referenced the Rick Tellender book, Reading to Roses, about the Barry Alvarez era and how that's, like, to me, the greatest education in college sports. That like, if you follow it, everybody should read it, because it went through exactly how everything changed with Barry Alvarez. And this was written in the mid-90s, but so they even sustained it for 2 decades after that. There needs to be a book or an athletic oral history written about the reverse, how quickly they screwed this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
With, I think so. And to me, it starts with firing Paul Christ. I mean, the guy had one average year at like 7-5 coming out of COVID, which I do think matters, by the way. Like, we do have to remember that happened. So like they didn't have a great year in COVID. Then he has like a 7-5 season. He's like 2-2 or 3-2, right? The next year, and they fire him.
Mm-hmm.
And think, well, because they have this illusion that, like, you look back, Barry Alvarez had dips. Brett Bielema had dips, right? 7 and 6s we're talking about. It wasn't just, now they had a great run with Bielema, and then with Gary Anderson for the 2 years, and then with Christ, where they were 9, 10, 11 pretty consistently, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't even allow the dude to have a dip, and they fired him. And you bring in this guy that wants to change everything, and they completely forget who they are. They completely go, kind of like when Brew came in here, Chip, and did the spread, right? And Macy even still goes, offense wasn't the problem. We were running for 500 yards a game. And so you forget who you are. You have immediate pushback from alumni, which is never helpful. Again, the guys that won't close the yearbook. I know we've had this conversation over and over, but I just can't imagine screwing up a great situation quicker and more completely than Wisconsin has. And now you're going to have to financially shock the system to get it back, because negative momentum is just as hard to stop as positive momentum, right? It's really hard to stop. And I don't see any other way. I don't see how Fickell can drag his way out of this. And why it's surprising that they made the move. And I know I've gone way too long here.
No, it's good.
Like, Greg Gard, they wanted fired 2 or 3 times, right? And I even talked to him about it at the Final Four, after I asked him what his favorite restaurant in Lakeville was. And of course he said Culver's, which it's like, branch out a little bit, Greg. It was a great line. He's like, there's a Culver's right off the interstate. I hit that and go to the airport. Like Greg Gaard I remember, I'm old enough to remember right before the pandemic when Richard Pitino's Gopher team just ran the Badgers out of the gym at Williams Arena. It's the last time they beat Wisconsin. And I remember talking to some people in my family that are influential in Wisconsin athletics. And I said, is Greg going to survive this? This does not look good. And he's like, I hope so. I hope he does. He's a good guy, blah, 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 blah. Well, they won like 8 games in a row to finish the season, shared the Big Ten title. And they've been pretty good since then, right? They've been top of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, tournament teams. Now, I know they haven't had the tournament success that they've wanted, that they got used to. But again, it's like they let him work through some stuff, and now they're a preseason ranked top 25 team again, right? Like they're in a good spot. And I'm just stunned that Chris did not get that same opportunity. And here they are. And it's just amazing how quickly the whole thing has fallen.
Yeah, you in whatever hours you called it, spoiled or whatever, but you get tricked into believing that Rose Bowls are expected, and it's the goal. But when you go 3 times or whatever, 4 times, or and Barry created such a such a momentum and brand with how they played and the jump around and all the things that were happening with Wisconsin football in that era. And Bielema had it. If there's any slippage, fans are like, wait, this is not how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be going to Rose Bowls. We're supposed to be doing all these great things at a time when college football was changing itself, not just your program, but college football was changing. And there gets this impatient that drives decisions. And I thought Chris is a good coach. I really think he's a good coach.
Went to a Rose Bowl and an Orange Bowl. He won 70% of his Big Ten games.
But when they made the decision and they brought Fickle in, I thought, you know what? That's a pretty good hire. Like, that's a guy who's established, who's won. He's going to win there. He's going to get them back to, being 8, 9, 10 wins. His fundamental flaw was bringing in that air raid and thinking that was going to, and it just didn't fit. The personnel didn't fit. The style didn't fit. I don't know about his recruiting. Burns, you know that more than me, but you're right that I think they're much like Franklin, when you lose your fans and they stop going to games and they start donating money because they don't believe in the coach or the direction, you have to, at that point, your hands are, the decision is being made for you by your fans, because it's hard to, if they run this out and don't win another game, what is your message going forward if you stay put?
Right.
Like, how are you going to get fans to buy into what you're doing? I don't know how you do it.
I don't know what they're waiting for, because it's not getting any better. Like, you can't come up for air when Ohio State, Oregon are the next 2 teams on the, with everybody lining up for the coaching carousel that we've already seen. And as I said, 3 teams fired their coaches on Sunday: Penn State, Oregon State, and UAB. And we're still waiting to see what other teams do. What are you waiting for at this point? It can't get any worse. You're going to lose those games. So I'm going to be very curious to see what this whole thing with Wisconsin ends up being.
Well, and I do. You always say make the move so you can get ahead of the line in the recruiting or when you're talking to coaches. ADs are talking to agents behind the scenes. They know what they're doing. So that's a false narrative. That's a false narrative.
Drawn.
Yeah.
The numbers have already been drawn. They're waiting for their number to be called. Yeah.
These these ADs know who they want to target. They're talking to them already if they decide to make a move. So it's not like you're going to, like, it doesn't surprise them. It doesn't just come out of nowhere, So the Fitzgerald one, it's a great name. I'm guessing will be a popular candidate probably, right, for these jobs.
I'll be curious to know what the settlement was or what the language is, and we don't know that, and I'm sure we'll never know that with Northwestern and him in terms of does he get the full settlement if and when he takes another job? Because I think that'll
he
be
has to.
Yeah, it's a
no
If
idea.
you're wrongfully fired and
that's
you
the
settle.
It's not offset language in a contract. I mean, that's a lawsuit.
Yeah,
you know.
I think whatever they settle on, I think he gets it.
Yeah,
because he's not going to take a settlement if he can't coach again, if that's going to mess it up, right? I wouldn't think.
I've learned, look, I'm not as old and as wise as you two, but I've learned through my years, never underestimate the power of whatever random lawyer or language there is within anything. Some of it, it's like, why in the world is that in there? That's a great question, everyone. I'm just telling you, I'm not a lawyer.
All right. Well, we should probably wrap this up. We went long on Wisconsin, which we should have. We went long on Franklin, which we should have. We got more good games to talk about next week. We'll preview Iowa next week. We don't have the kick time for that yet. We know it won't be a night game, though, so Burnsy's very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
We've got that figured out. But anything else in our final minute or so that we want to cover, guys? Anything we need to discuss? Are we good?
I'm excited to be able to watch some college football again on Saturday because you got, Washington, Michigan at 11 a.m. You've got some pretty nice 2:30 slates across the board, and then you get to end with USC Notre Dame that night.
Yeah. That'll be a good one.
Friday night game is while we will all be trying to get some brownie points.
And it's the third Saturday in October.
It must be Tennessee, Alabama.
It's third Saturday, and I'm going to be in Des Moines. My youngest is putting his head down. He trained. He's going to run the Des Moines Marathon on Sunday.
All right.
Living in a frat house and training for a marathon. I don't think those two things lined up, but he has done it. He's been diligent, and he's running his first marathon on Sunday. So I'm driving down Saturday to support him. I'm going to cheer him on Sunday, but don't think I won't find a bar in Des Moines if you have any good recommendations for third Saturday in October, baby.
I actually do have a good recommendation. I can't remember. It's downtown. I can't remember.
We're staying downtown. Yeah.
I was there the night before the Gophers played Louisville in the NCAA tournament. Richard Pitino, the Gabe Kelcher game, 7 3-pointer game, 11 a.m. Let's just say that 11 a.m. tip came up pretty quickly on your boy after his night in Des Moines. So I will remember what it's called. I will text you. It's a great little dive bar spot. Looks like it's got, if I remember correctly, it has plenty of TVs, and I definitely know it has IPAs. So that will be the one. That will be the one for you. But that 11 o'clock tip with Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller, Allie LaForce on the call, CBS. That was a tough one for me. I'm just going to say that.
It was your flu game down there, right?
It pretty much was. And then I had to drive home after the game. Yeah, that was quite a night, quite a weekend. All right, congratulations to our friends at Jack's Cafe for the Legends Restaurant Bracket Challenge Championship, Minnesota Monthly Magazine, minnesotamonthly.com. If you don't believe us, check it out because it's right there. Don't forget about the Hunter's Dinner. You can learn more about it at jackscafe.com. Check out the social media channel, the Pair and a Spare Twitter handle, for details on how we're going to give away the Jack's Cafe tickets for Friday night against Nebraska. Have a great MEA weekend. If you want to come do anything in Minnetonka or Edina, do it this weekend because all the residents go to Cabo and Sanibel, which wasn't a thing when I was a kid. I just want everyone to know that.
Okay.
We did not do that. The guards did not participate in that nonsense because that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard is, hey, it's MEA. We're going to Cabo, stay at Grandma and Grandpa's timeshare. Get lost. Tell a friend about us, subscribe, hit the YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you next week on the Pair and a Spare podcast.